Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this morning. Thank you for joining us. We love having you. This is, if you've joined us before, we usually have little videos to start our sessions, but not this morning. We're going straight to the topic and straight to the conversation. I'm Joelle Guenette, and I'm responsible for Eastern Canada for Dassault Systèmes, for the SOLIDWORKS division very specifically. I have with me Michel Cloutier that I will introduce in a few minutes, who will, of course, go through the information that you want to see today. So before I get into that, though, I wanted to say that as I travel through the region to meet with as many customers as I can, I get to see a lot of our beautiful country, obviously, and a lot of different places. And sometimes I get to do this in my own vehicle. If I'm traveling close enough to home, I get to go in my own car. Which is comfortable, which is I know everything that I've got, and it's nice, and I'm obviously in my space. But when I travel elsewhere, a little further, where I have to take a plane, then it's a different story. I have to rent a car. And every time I do this, for some reason, I seem to end up with different vehicles. It's very, very rare that I get the same vehicle twice. And I've been traveling for SOLIDWORKS for 4 years now, and traveling before that in other positions. But I've seen a lot of rental cars. And this is where I get to have the fun of exploring, right? And of comparing, and of saying, oh, these are nice new features. So my vehicle is 7 years old now. It's got some kilometers on it, some mileage on it. So I get to see new things. And of course, new features are added every year, as we know, to cars. And I get to explore these. Now, I don't have a whole lot of time to do so, but I get to find out which ones I like, which ones I don't, layouts, how things are done, how things are positioned, and new things that I get to shop a little bit as I'm trying these things and say, you know what, if I was to get another car, I'd really like to have this. So as I was going through this in the last few weeks, came up with this idea of maybe some people have SOLIDWORKS Standard or maybe SOLIDWORKS Pro, and maybe they're wondering, is there something that I'm missing out on? Is there something more that I could have from SOLIDWORKS if I had the other versions? I just don't know, because I don't get to try them on a daily basis, right? Like I'm trying these cars. So we thought we'd give you a visual of what is in these other products, what are in these other tools, and maybe whet your appetite a little bit on what would be of benefit and of value to you and your company and your day-to-day job, either in making things or making you more productive, or giving you some tools you don't have to making your design better. Better quality, better confidence, chances to explore different things, whatever it may be. So the topic today is, are you ready for more power with SOLIDWORKS Pro and Premium? And by the way, power is one thing that I love to compare in vehicles. I'm an aggressive driver, so if there's no power, it gets a bad mark to start. But obviously, SOLIDWORKS Pro and SOLIDWORKS Premium have more power than SOLIDWORKS Standard. They've got more things under the hood, and we're going to go through some of the highlights of those today. And to do that, I have Michel with me, as I mentioned. Just a few notes: if you've got questions on anything that he's talking about during the presentations, there's a chat area on the right-hand side of your go-to webinar screen. So please, where it says "Type message here," don't hesitate. Write your questions in there. There's also a document right above that you can download, so please feel free to do that at any time. And if you've got some questions, Michelle will address them at the end, and I'll come back to close things off. So in the meantime, Michelle, you've been there for 14 years, seen the changes of SOLIDWORKS in all its evolution, right? So things that were in Premium before exclusively have now, some of them migrated down to or they're off to Professional. You're going to give us an idea of where things are today and what people have access to, and hopefully everyone will see something that they would love to have. All right, off to you, Michelle. Thanks.
Absolutely. So, well, good morning and welcome, everyone. And like Joelle mentioned, there's 3 levels of SOLIDWORKS. As you're probably aware already, we have SOLIDWORKS Standard, Professional, Premium, and yes, like Joelle mentioned, some of the add-ins and tools have actually moved in the scale of things over the years. So I want to do a quick review of what we have in standard, but mostly talk about what we have inside of SOLIDWORKS Professional and SOLIDWORKS Premium. Now let's start with the start. SOLIDWORKS Standard. Now, again, we have a lot of features in each of those modules, a lot of components, a lot of tools. And if we kind of break things down, rather than talking about, all the tools, let's actually ask you, if you're a SOLIDWORKS user today, which version are you using before we actually start digging down into each of them? As I said, I do have some polls, so I want to ask people in the audience. I'm going to launch a poll on which you can actually answer, and I'm going to encourage you to answer. Let me know, let us know. I'll share the results afterwards. What version of SOLIDWORKS are you using most often? And in some cases, especially in enterprise, you might, the company might have a mix of standard, pro, premium. So just let us know which one you're using the most. So I see people answering answering. So I'm glad to hear that, to see that, and I'll give a few more seconds for people to answer. So already a good majority of people in attendance have answered. So let's give that 10 more seconds. And let's close the poll and share the results. So most of you today are using SOLIDWORKS Standard. Some of you are using SOLIDWORKS Professional, but also about a quarter using SOLIDWORKS Premium. So I think that's going to be a good session. So you'll be able to appreciate what is in each of the versions. And like Joel mentioned, maybe it's going to be a refresher to what you actually already have in your version or level of SOLIDWORKS. So let's close this and get back to our presentation. And like I said, there's a lot of things in each of those products, whether it is standard or professional or premium. And a better way to kind of show this or illustrate this is, who's the user type. So the typical user type for SOLIDWORKS standard is probably the casual user. What we have inside of SOLIDWORKS Professional will add some productivity boosters, so for the everyday user. And inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium, we're going to get some more specialty tools in more specialty areas. So let's start with SOLIDWORKS Standard. Now, you're using SOLIDWORKS Standard, all of you are using SOLIDWORKS Standard to some degree. So in that, you'll find, the casual, drafting tools, right? So you got the tools for part design, assembly design, drawings. Also includes surfacing, sheet metal, weldments, even some mold tools. So all of those are included inside of SOLIDWORKS Standard. But what else? So one thing other than that is that we have DIM Expert. Now, DIM Expert is the first step into model-based definition, which is the ability to, instead of creating 2D drawings and annotating a 2D drawing, have the tools inside of SOLIDWORKS DIM Expert and use those tools to annotate the 3D model. Eventually, you might even, get rid of the need for a 2D drawing. Most importantly, this is to streamline downstream application like manufacturing, CAM, inspection, etc. So that's included inside of SOLIDWORKS Standard. We also have inside of SOLIDWORKS Standard 3D Interconnect. So 3D Interconnect allows us to import data from third-party systems, for example, Pro-E files, Inventor files, Solid Edge files, and just import them directly inside of your SOLIDWORKS assembly without the need of translating the files. Now, what's kind of neat about 3D Interconnect is that when you insert something from a third-party system, like the examples I mentioned before, they keep a link or a reference to the native file. So if, for example, that battery pack assembly was designed in Inventor, um, originally it had 8 small batteries, but in Inventor I did a change and updated that pack to be more powerful and to have maybe 6 large batteries. Well, inside of SOLIDWORKS, I don't need to redo everything. I can simply update the changes inside of SOLIDWORKS. So a very good tool to use. And if you want to learn more actually about 3D Interconnect, we did a whole session. It's hosted on our channel, and I'll give you the link to look it up after the session. But if you're interested and you want to learn more about 3D Interconnect, how it works, you can certainly give our video a look. Now, another tool that is included inside of SOLIDWORKS Standard, and that's actually something that used to be in SOLIDWORKS Professional, is FeatureWorks. Now, FeatureWorks allows us to import a step file, for example, a neutral 3D file, and basically rebuild the feature tree so it becomes fully editable inside of SOLIDWORKS. See, that's a imported solid. I use my recognize feature and it actually reverse engineers all the features inside of this part. So now it's more or less a native SOLIDWORKS part now with all the features that I can easily edit and change. And again, that's something that used to be in SOLIDWORKS Professional, has now been it fell down to SOLIDWORKS Standard to give more access to all of our users. So if we do a quick recap of what's inside of SOLIDWORKS Standard, and like I said, there's a lot of stuff in each of those products, and I won't have time to talk about everything. But inside of SOLIDWORKS Standard, you got the native tools to do parts assembly, drawings. DIM Expert is going to be in there. 3D Interconnect, FeatureWorks is in there as well. Now let's move along. Oh, actually, there's actually a couple more things also. All the Express products are also included in SOLIDWORKS Standard. So Simulation Express, Flow Express. We introduced the ability to import and edit mesh files a couple of releases ago. So that's inside of SOLIDWORKS Standard. We have FeatureWorks, I mentioned that. We also have utilities that, again, used to be in SOLIDWORKS Professional, now is included inside of SOLIDWORKS Standard. So now let's move to SOLIDWORKS Professional and highlight some of the tools inside of SOLIDWORKS Professional. Now, probably the one tool that people use most often and get SOLIDWORKS Professional, the biggest reason to get is for the toolbox. The toolbox is a library of over actually 1 million components that is readily available. It's a simple drag and drop. You pull it in your SOLIDWORKS assembly, it sizes automatically. It can understand the whole diameter and size automatically. If you want to change the length of something, you pull it, it goes to the next standard length of component, and you're going to have inside of toolbox, bolts, nuts, washers, bearings, gears, snap rings, and all the lot. So there's like I said, over 1 million component inside of toolbox. So if you do any machine design, that's probably a given right there. That's something that you probably use day in and day out. Additionally to that, inside of SOLIDWORKS Professional, we also have photo rendering tools. So there's actually two. One is PhotoView 360 that runs embedded inside of your SOLIDWORKS assembly to do quick renderings. Allows you to do some of these renderings as you're designing, just to give you an idea of how this is going to look like. But a couple of releases ago, we also introduced part of SOLIDWORKS Professional's maintenance, or the subscription service, another tool called SOLIDWORKS Visualize. Now, this is a bit different because yes, you're going to start inside of SOLIDWORKS with your model, but then you can take that model to a standalone application. So Visualize is a standalone application. You can actually have this application installed on someone else's computer, like someone in marketing or in sales. And now they can leverage your SOLIDWORKS models and basically paint the design like they want. There's thousands of materials available, some installed, some available to download, and the quality is just so good inside of SOLIDWORKS Visualize. You got control over all those materials properties, roughness, bump, and whatnot. You can create all those camera angles or camera views, options to set a focal distance and depth of field, and just great because one of the nice things about Visualize is that it renders as you're doing the changes. And just to give you a highlight of some of the quality rendering you can get with SOLIDWORKS Visualize, here's a couple finished pictures. And those are not actually, I said pictures, those are actually not pictures, they're actual rendering out of SOLIDWORKS Visualize, just to give you an idea of the quality you can get out of SOLIDWORKS Visualize. It's really magazine quality renderings. Another tool we have inside of SOLIDWORKS Professional is SOLIDWORKS Costing for Part. Now, SOLIDWORKS Costing allows you to evaluate the manufacturing cost of a product, of a part. So as I'm running costing, you see on the bottom right the actual cost to manufacture this frame. What's neat about SOLIDWORKS costing, it evaluates the cost of the material, labor. It can add pretty much manufacturing operations, even paint and things like that. What's also great is that this is based on your model. So if I do a change and I say, hey, I think I can get this cost a little down if I change my weldment profiles, maybe something a little cheaper with a thinner wall. Won't affect the overall design, but because the profile are cheaper to purchase, you can actually see those changes and create a report, see if those changes actually drive the cost up and down, and get a report out of that. So a really useful tool, and that's part of SOLIDWORKS Professional. Another tool we have inside of SOLIDWORKS Professional is the Task Scheduler. The Task Scheduler is basically a robot. You let this tool do what you don't like to be doing on your own. So for example, you change your SOLIDWORKS version and you need to convert the files to the latest release of SOLIDWORKS. You can let the Task Scheduler run overnight to do that. If you did changes to an assembly and a number of parts, and you don't want to open the drawings one by one just to update the views and update your drawing, you can let the Task Scheduler do it for you. Also printing, it's a tool you can use to batch print a whole directory, a whole folder of drawing files. Also useful for importing or exporting files. So something I see quite often is, a project is done and I need to create either DWG files or PDF files of all my drawings. Obviously, you don't want to do that manually, one drawing at a time. You just set the Task Scheduler to do it, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon and let it run overnight, and it will do all of that for you. You can also use it to update properties. So really the Task Scheduler is just an application that automates all these tasks in the background. You set it up to start when you leave the office in the evening, and you let it run overnight on your computer. We also have inside of SOLIDWORKS Professional a tool called the Design Checker. So the Design Checker, the idea with the Design Checker is to look for any discrepancies with regards to your company's standards on a drawing. So how you set it up is that you start with a good drawing that has been checked that has all the arrow types, the font, the layer, everything is set correctly, and you build a checklist off of that drawing, and then when you need to run it against another drawing, you simply let the design checker, it's going to highlight everything that is out of your company standard. So for example, here we got an example, you see different types of arrowheads, different types of font. Some of the writing is vertical, the other is horizontal. There's even some of the writing is in bold. So there's a lot of discrepancies that goes against the company standard. So I run the design checker, and the design checker will actually highlight or give me a report of all those checks that are going against my company standard, and I can even let the design checker give me a report or actually fix it on its own. So there's over 50 checks it does, even has a spell check included, embedded with it. So really useful tool to just do checks on multiple drawings before they get released for manufacturing. Also in SOLIDWORKS Professional, we have eDrawings Professional. And in 2019, we actually have VR and AR capabilities built inside eDrawings. So if you want to, get into a virtual environment reality setup like this one here, or augmented reality, this is now available directly inside of eDrawings Professional. So you don't need to process the files into another system just to get into that AR, VR environment. Now you can actually do that directly with eDrawings Professional. And as a side note, in 2019, all the features that used to be in eDrawings Professional up to 2018, like annotation, measuring, and whatnot, all of this in 2019 is part of eDrawings Free. So the eDrawings Professional now has those added capabilities, but what used to be in eDrawings Professional up to 2018, in 2019, they're in the free eDrawings version. So again, if we do a quick recap of the tools inside of SOLIDWORKS Professional, and like I said, I don't have the time to cover everything, but here's what we talked about. So we do have document management. I didn't talk about it, but we do have a PDM standard that comes with SOLIDWORKS Professional that's available. We mentioned eDrawings Professional. We talked about toolbox, rendering, costing. There's also a tool called CircuitWorks. So that tool allows you to import PCB data file and convert them into a SOLIDWORKS model, a 3D SOLIDWORKS model. So if you want to have a sense of space, get the PCB board into a component and design around that, you can use CircuitWorks to do that. We talked about the task scheduler. There's also Tall Analyst. Again, actually the two last one, Tall Analyst and Scan to 3D, used to be tools that were only available in SOLIDWORKS Premium a couple of releases ago. Now they're inside SOLIDWORKS Professional. So Tall Analyst will allow you to do tolerance stack-up analysis on assemblies, and Scan to 3D will help you import point cloud data and mesh file to do reverse engineering or any type of other work with those types of files. So again, a good overview, I think, of what we have inside of our SOLIDWORKS Professional. And let me launch this poll now. And I'm going to ask you, if you're a SOLIDWORKS Pro user, which of those tools or any of those tools are you using? If you're not a SOLIDWORKS Pro user, which of the tools you think you would be using the most? So I'm going to leave that some time to get some polls, get you to fill in an answer. You can actually click on multiple options as well. So I'm starting to see some results coming in. So thank you for getting some polls in, getting some data in. That's going to be interesting. And I'm seeing some of the numbers coming in, and quite frankly, I'm not surprised. I was kind of expecting that, but I'll share the results. So again, I'll leave a couple seconds. Actually, while I do that, I think there's a question. Let me see. That's a good question, Doug. Doug asked why we never see Joelle on those sessions. Well, that's a question for Joelle, so maybe she can answer at the end. So I'm going to close the poll and share the results. And I was actually expecting those numbers. So SOLIDWORKS Toolbox is probably the tool that people mostly use inside SOLIDWORKS Professional. That's probably the main reason why they get it in the first time. I see a lot of people using or want to use the rendering tool, so that's good news as well. We got costing, task scheduler, and some of the other tools listed here, so that's great. So thank you for responding. Let's move forward and talk about our SOLIDWORKS Premium. So like I mentioned earlier, SOLIDWORKS Premium have more more high-end tools, more focused tools on different things. So we do have a couple of things more for the power user. Let's go through them. So first of all, inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium, we're gonna get we're going to get static simulation for assemblies. So using static simulation, you set your loads, you basically set up your problem as if it were in real life, apply loads, and then get to understand how this is going to react, how your design is going to react under these loads. So you get the stresses, you get displacements, you can get factor of safety. This will work on parts and assemblies, and it will also work on different types of parts, whether it's a solid, whether it's a sheet metal part, whether it's a weldment. This will work really well. And you also have the ability to set up different types of contacts between parts. So that's really the first level of FEA included inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium. Next, we also get motion simulation. And with motion simulation, it's not just about animating, it's also getting actually outputs from that motion study. So for example, I want to understand the size of a motor I need for a certain mechanism to work. How big of an actuator, how big of a motor, what's my power consumption, what are my loads, distributed loads, the forces because of that motion, the applied to my different joints, whatnot. So this is part of SOLIDWORKS Premium that's available inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium. Additionally, inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium, we get into routing. So routing can actually do different types of routes. The example we're seeing here is with cables or wires. So here I'm using in this panel, electrical panel, I'm wiring some cables from my different components. So as you can see in this example, it can do wiring cable harnesses. But what's neat about routing, it can actually do a lot more than electrical wires and cables. You can use routing to do mechanical piping. You can also use the routing module to do tubing, either rigid or flexible tubing. Think about hydraulic lines or pneumatic hoses or hydraulic hoses. So this can be done inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium using the routing module. But routing doesn't end there. It can actually support non-cylindrical profiles. Think about ventilation, right? In ventilation systems, we also often have rectangle profiles. So we can actually use routing for that. Another example here is to design cable trays using those profiles. So that, again, is available inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium with the routing module. Another example of functionality only found in SOLIDWORKS Premium is the ability to flatten a surface. Now, in this example, that's actually a good example where I need to get a 2D layout of a sticker that I want to apply on this part. As you can see, it's actually a curved part, and it's actually not curved in two different axes. It's hard to see on the screen here, but with the flattened surface command inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium, I can actually select that surface or surfaces. It can be multiple surfaces, and actually save that flattened surface into a DXF or DWG for manufacturing or for cutting. Now it doesn't just end there either. You can actually, because there's actually some meshing tools required for the flattening surface, we can actually create a representation of the stretching and compression when we flatten this surface out. So if in the case of a sticker, if you try to put a sticker on something round, you'll see it's going to compress. It's going to create some, in some areas, it's going to compress, and maybe in some areas it's going to stretch. So we can clearly see that on a color-coded chart. And even more, we can actually put in some relief cuts and see the effects of those relief cuts. So as you can see, before the relief cut, I got a lot of stretching around the outside edges. I use the relief cut option inside the flattened surface, and now I can get a much better sticker, and it's not going to get some bad results when I put it on my curved surface. So really useful for textile material. Here's an example with stickers, but that's part of SOLIDWORKS Premium. Also part of SOLIDWORKS Premium is the ability to import CATIA files. And that's going to be CATIA V5 parts and assemblies, or CAT product and CAT part, and import those inside of SOLIDWORKS. So if you have to deal with CATIA files and you need to import those CATIA files inside of SOLIDWORKS, you're going to find the ability to do that with SOLIDWORKS Premium. So let's get back to a quick overview of what we talked about inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium. So we have static simulation to do stress displacement on parts and assemblies. We have motion simulation. We have the routing module to do electrical, wiring, tubing, piping, and other type of routing profiles. The flattened surface command is in SOLIDWORKS Premium, along with, something I didn't show, but I'm going to mention is costing for assemblies. So we did talk a little bit about costing in Professional part only. Inside of Premium, you can actually do the roll-up for the whole assembly, including purchase parts and things like that. We talked about CATIA interconnect, or the ability to import CATIA files inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium. But also inside of SOLIDWORKS Premium, we have sustainability that allows you to do analysis on your environmental impact of a design. The carbon emitted based on where it's used, where it's manufactured, transport, material, and whatnot. So really, a green evaluation of your design. So let's actually do our last poll of the day. So this time, same question as before. If you're a premium user, what tool do you use most often? If you're not a premium user, what tool would you like to be using? So the poll is out, so you can start responding to the poll. You can also select multiple options. So if you're using many of those tools, just check off what you're using. So I'm seeing the response getting in. So thank you. Already half of you, more than half, have voted. So I'll give a couple seconds to complete that. So I'll give a few more seconds. And by the way, thank you for your participation. It's really nice to see people putting in their thoughts, their ideas, and see how we're doing. So let me just close this poll, and I'll share the results. So a lot of you, most of you, using Premium for either the static stress analysis in parts and assemblies. A lot of you are using it for the routing module for pipe, tubing, wiring. Some of you, well, good portion using motion, advanced flattening. It's also up there. So thank you for your responses. So let's wrap things up. So we talked about all these great tools inside of SOLIDWORKS. I'm gonna do a quick side note. If you're interested to learn more about, especially 3D interconnect, we have a recorded session on our channel about that. And in 2 weeks, I'm actually doing a session on simulation tools, so static, and I'm actually going to talk a little bit about motion too, how to optimize your design using some of these tools. So as we're wrapping up, I don't have any other questions, Joelle, but I will put the link to our channel page. So this is being recorded, and like the other sessions that we have, it's going to be posted on this page, on our channel page. If you're interested to some of the other tools, like I mentioned, 3D interconnect, we have a number of sessions there on a lot of different things, simulation and PDM and whatnot. So if you want to take a peek and look at there, but our session is going to be recorded and posted on the channel page soon after we're done today. And just again, as a reminder, this is our session in 2 weeks, and it's going to be titled "How to Let SOLIDWORKS Simulation Find the Best Design for You." So I've been working hard on this session, and I think you're going to like it. So I'm going to talk about obviously simulation, but also a little bit about motion, flow, and even SOLIDWORKS for that matter. So if you're interested, that's the link to register. If you have any questions, I don't see any other questions that came up online. But I'll leave my contact info along with Joelle's. So if you have any questions, or if you want to have the link via email for those sessions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So Joelle, I'll let you wrap up. And yeah, there was a question for you up there.
Yes, I heard, and I know myself would ask that one. Michelle asks me the same thing regularly, so I don't wake up in the morning as easily and looking as great as Michelle does. So it's leave it to you.
You're too kind.
But thanks for all that great information as always. So the idea again is the power. Do you have these tools, and are you using everything that's in them? If you don't have these tools, then how can you get to these tools? And then this may be the right month to do it. As we've got some incentives for you. So please, if you were thinking of migrating to a professional or premium license, do check with your sales representative at your reseller, and see what the pricing looks like, and see if what you're going to gain is obviously of benefit enough to warrant the additional investment. And otherwise, keep following us to see what else we bring into our tools as we go, and maybe there will be a time where you'll have access to different things. As Michelle said, tons of registrations on our webinars, so join us for simulation in a few weeks, and do look at our page for anything in the past that we've done if there's more information that you're looking for on a specific topic. And with that, I will leave you to have a great weekend, a great day, and thanks again, Michelle, for the info, and thanks for all of you to join us. Have a great day. Bye for now.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.